Instagram and Twitter and Facebook make it so that we always know what's going on with everyone everywhere. What's up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily and I create Christ-centered conversations about topics missing from mainstream messages. So if that's your cup of tea, make sure to subscribe. And while you're at it, if you want to follow along with the behind-the-scenes stuff of my life, you can follow me on my Instagram, which will be linked down in the description box below. So today's video is about my biggest frustration and the biggest problem that I see with social media. And the social media that I am mainly on is Instagram. I'm not on Twitter or Facebook, so I don't have much to say about those, but I know based on the principles that it's basically the same thing. The things that I'm going to talk about today can be applied to most social media. So I'll just say it because I know you're on the edge of your seat right now trying to figure out what you think my biggest problem is with social media. So my biggest problem is that social media disconnects us from the people that we are with. One area that I've seen this a lot is when you're hanging out with your friends and everyone's on their phones, or like 3 people on their phones. And so it's like they're physically there with you, but really they're not there at all. They're not engaged with the conversation. They're not reading the room. There's no awareness of what else is going on. And I'm not just like, oh, those other people who are on their phones. Like, I know that I do this too, where I'll be in a group and I'll take out my phone and I just, all of a sudden, I'm like totally out of it. And however long it is, it might only be 2 minutes when I pick up my phone and just scroll through Instagram for a minute, but like all of a sudden, all my attention is focused on the screen and it's not on anyone around me. In my freshman year of college, I was in a class with some of my friends, and the challenge that the teacher gave us was to not use any technology actually, but mainly not use your phone for a week. And leading up to this, I'm gonna be honest, like I was really nervous. I was like, how am I gonna go a week without using my phone at all? And like I had done it before at camps and whatever, but like at camps you're doing stuff all the time and everybody around you is not using your phone. Like this was in the middle of school. This was in February of my freshman year. So I was kind of nervous about it, but what ended up happening is me and the 11 other people that were in this class, we all weren't using our phones for a week. And so when we had meals together, none of us had our phones at the table. And when we hung out, nobody was on their phones. And honestly, like, I think it was so helpful to have that week to not have our phones, because as like a group of friends, I feel like we got a lot closer. And even after that, we were much more intentional about like, let's not use our phones when we're all together, because this is just a random statistic that I thought is wild. Even having your phone on the table face down prevents people from engaging and being vulnerable with one another. Because there's this idea, it's a subconscious idea, but it's still true, that at any moment, if the conversation is boring, or if we're feeling awkward, or if for any reason we want to get out of the situation, we can just pick up our phones. You don't have to physically remove yourself, just the act of picking up your phone takes you out of that, and it's like this relief of like, oh, I can leave it anytime I want. And so that belief of I can leave it anytime I want is projected onto whoever you're with. And so even if your phone's on the table and you're not touching it, they know this person could leave whenever they want, and so they don't feel the freedom to talk to you deeply about things, to really engage vulnerably with the people around them. So that was just an interesting statistic that I learned that kind of proves that point of when you're with people and you're on your phone, it totally disconnects you from what's going on around you. On an even larger scale, this is something that I was reading about earlier. I'm gonna link an article down below from Desiring God, from their blog, and it was all about how we have become so disconnected from our local area. When we are looking at Instagram and we're looking at social media, the people that we are connected with are not usually all people within our area. I mean, how many of your neighbors do you actually know the name of? I'm thinking, and I know like people across the street and right next to me, but besides that, I'm not really engaging with my neighbors. I'm not engaging with the local news. And I'm not saying like you have to turn on the local news every night and be like, what's going on in my neighborhood? But I am saying like when we are on social media, we're getting information about all these people who actually are not in our circles at all. You know, we're hearing news about people who we can't help, that we just feel sorrow over, and we're like, oh, this horrible thing is happening. But when something's local, you actually have the ability to say, like, there's this actual problem going on in my community. How can I step in and help? How can I be the hands and feet of Jesus to these people, to this family, whatever it is? But I think we lose out on a lot of that when we plug into social media instead of plugging into wherever we actually are, you know, into our neighborhoods, into the area that we work, into our church. I mean, and this is just a small comment on churches, and I'm not going to go too in depth with this because it's more of like a, you know, ideological, social thing. But the fact that nowadays some people will drive like 30 minutes to church is crazy. And I'm not saying it's wrong by any stretch of the imagination. I drive 30 minutes to church. I'm not like dissing it at all. I'm just commenting on the fact that our churches are so widespread. I mean, I go to a church where people are coming from like 30 minutes all around. And so if you're gonna be connected to your church, you're gonna have to drive like a lot to be connected to these people. And I think a way that it works better, I'm not saying that this is like the best or that everything else is wrong, but the better way to do it is to be with a church who is also the people in your town, who is also the people in your neighborhood. So you're doing life with this community of people locally. You're not traveling 30 minutes here for work and then 30 minutes over here for church and then 30 minutes over here for your recreational activities, whatever that is. Like, I just wonder how much more could we see the church being the church if the people were all living in community together. The other thing is, think about how much more we could do in terms of compassion, in terms of reaching out to people, in terms of like actually making a difference in people's lives if it wasn't all on social media. Now, I think things that go on social media, it's still great. Like, I really, these are all just comments. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, GoFundMes are awesome. But how awesome could it also be to really be so deep in your community that you know the needs of the people and you're able to intentionally, personally reach out to people and support them in their struggles? Like, when we're on social media giving to these GoFundMes, we get like the big, I don't know how to explain this, like the deepest, most miserable things that people need money for. And it's great that we can donate to that and we can support people whether or not we know them. But there are also so many needs in our immediate community that may not be getting reached because they're not on social media. They're not having a GoFundMe about something. That in order to know the needs of those people, you have to know them. You have to get out into your neighborhood and you have to actually talk to people and actually see what's going on in their lives. And then I think then the impact of what you do as a Christian can be so much higher because it's not only some money going somewhere, which is great. The Lord will use it whether or not they know who you are, whether or not you have a relationship or not. But when you have a relationship with the person and you're helping them out, there's a chance to really show the love and care of Christ to that person through your time, through your sacrifice, through your money, whatever it is. But again, you don't know what's going on locally when you're so deeply involved in what's going on globally. Like, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook make it so that we always know what's going on with everyone everywhere. And having an awareness about these things is really good and helpful. I think, yeah, we shouldn't be naive about what's going on in the world because I think that would show a lack of care and compassion. But I don't think we need to be knee deep in every single issue that's going on social media. I think to be able to step outside of that and just get knee deep or deeper into the things that are going on in our communities, in the places where we actually are, and investing in that, I think that is really impactful. So there are so many different ways that you can do this. A lot of it is just intentionality and intentionally reaching out to people and and putting yourself in situations. It's getting into whatever it is, whatever that community is that you exist in, and seeing what's going on there and meeting people and caring for them. I mean, it can be as simple as like waving to people. It can be as simple as, instead of like staying inside your house all the time. I was thinking about this today because I spent like all day inside. And then I got out and I walked to the library and I like was waving and talking to people as I walked down the street. And I was like, I bet this is what John Piper was talking about. Just kidding. It wasn't actually John Piper who wrote the article, but whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that was probably the point, is we should be engaging with our community. And it's really hard to do that when we're so engrossed in everybody else's lives on social media, when we don't even know them, or when they don't even live in our community, or you know, it's something that's going on totally across the world. All these things are important, and we can absolutely care for these things and donate to different things and absolutely pray for everything that's going on. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, sometimes it's a lot. It's overwhelming to think about and to know all the things that are going on, to know everybody's hurt and pain because everyone's sharing it on Instagram, when instead we can just really intentionally care for the people who God has put around us. That's something that I'm trying to do more, and it's difficult as like a 20-year-old, because, you know, all the people on my street, I'm like, you're all like moms with kids, like what do we have in common? How am I gonna talk to you? But I just need to get over that. I just need to get over that and do it. And even if it's awkward, it doesn't matter. Like, I just step forward and do whatever you feel like you need to do to care for the people around you, to care for your community, and to get in it and to not be removed from it. Because everyone assumes as young people that we're just going to be removed from our communities. Nobody expects us to do those things because we're always on our phones. And so nobody wants to interact with somebody who's on their phone, because you know that that person is not in the space. They're not present there. So get off your phone, look around you, and interact with the people that God has placed within your community. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have an awesome week, have an awesome life, and I'll see you next time.